Welcome to I Put It To You podcast, the podcast where we put the questions on the table, we unpack the facts and answer the questions that you really want to know. Today I'm joined by Elzane Vorster from Vorster Properties. She's an estate agent, she's a mom, she's an entrepreneur, and she's an all-round boss lady knowing everything about the ins and the outs of the property market. So if you are interested in knowing anything about buying your first house or you are just curious, grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's get going. Welcome, Elzane.
Thank you so much for the very nice introduction.
No, you're welcome. You are an all-round boss lady. I can see what you are busy with, but we'll get into that a bit later. So, Elzane, I put it to you. What is the first thing that every first-time home buyer should know before they start looking at a house?
Well, I think the most important thing to consider is your budget and what you are willing to pay. So there's a difference between qualifying for an amount and knowing what you want to pay per month, because that can obviously be two different amounts. So if you qualify for 1 million rand, but you don't want to pay more than 8,000 rand a month, then obviously the price is going to differ and the houses are going to differ that you are going to want to look at. So the first thing you need to know is what do you want to pay per monthly, and then what is your obvious needs in a property. So wants is another thing, but you need to know what do you want in a property. What is a non-negotiable? What is something that you cannot live without if you were buying? So that's going to be the two most important things.
So budget is really important.
Yes.
I can't go look at a property in here on banks for 4 million if I can afford 10,000 a month.
100%. So obviously that is where we come in as well. So with the budget side, we can assist in a pre-qualification. It doesn't cost you anything, it's free, and it takes about 24 to 48 hours. There's a couple of documents that we need from you, but it's a service that we give you, and that will give you 100% indication on what you can afford per month.
Not what you want.
Not what you want to afford, what you can afford, and then according to that you can obviously look at properties that fit that price range.
So taking that, what you are saying, into consideration, I'm taking it as pre-approval is very important. So how important is pre-approval before you, as the first-time home buyer, are going to look at properties, getting that pre-approval? How important is that for you, taking outlines especially?
So it is very important. Obviously there's a lot of clients that don't want to do a pre-approval, and that's your choice. But if we do a pre-approval for you beforehand, it just eliminates time wasting. Because I'm exactly going to know what you can buy, what you qualify for, and where I can take you to. Otherwise, you look at a house for 1.4, you totally fall in love with this house, and then you can't afford it. So it's very important to make sure what you will be able to afford before even starting your home search journey.
So the recommendation is to get pre-approval. Just know what you can afford, guys. Like, you don't want to sit with the first payment going off and you're like, shucks, I can't now pay my medical aid or something. It's important to work within that budget.
And the thing with the pre-approval as well is that most people think that it affects your credit score, your ITC, but it doesn't.
No.
So you can do it without any implication towards you as the buyer. So it's the safest and the most logical thing to do before searching for a home.
Time is money. I mean, you cannot spend 5 hours in a week showing houses to people that can't afford those houses. We need to take that into consideration as well. Like, everybody always jokes saying attorneys, time is money, but the same with estate agents. You guys are working, there's time frames that you need to work in. You can't sit with somebody and search for a home for 6 months and then don't find anything because budget issues. So thinking of that pre-approval, and so what's the one mistake you'd say? I mean, you've been around for quite some time. What's the one mistake that you think first-time home buyers is making?
I think the biggest mistake would obviously be price. So I think there's a lot of new buyers They don't know the market, they don't know the areas, they don't know the prices the homes are selling for. So they will go and look at a house for 1.4, but they want to put in an offer for like 900. So we see that quite a lot. So I think the biggest mistake they can make is just overcompensating on price and what they want. So they want to buy a house for 1.2, but they want everything. They want a borehole, solar, swimming pool, a modern kitchen, and unfortunately it's just not realistic. So the biggest mistake first time home buyers make is what the link between what they think they can get for the amount they qualify and what they can actually get for the amount they qualify for.
Okay. It's just also, it sounds to me a lot like educating people. We need to start educating people to know what to look at. Don't make the mistakes. I mean, you don't want to sit 5 years down the line with a mistake.
Yeah.
So taking into consideration the pre-approval that we did talk about, how important is it? As an attorney, I know what documents is required, but if the first-time home buyer or somebody that wants to buy a house, somebody that's interested, if you have to tell them, have these documents ready to smooth out the process, what is that document?
Okay, so it's usually going to be a copy of your ID. So if you still have the booklet, it's obviously just going to be a one-pager. But if you do have the ID card, it's going to be a clear copy of the front and the back.
Yep.
And then depending on your work schedule or your work hours, so if you have a regular salary, no overtime, no extra compensation, we're going to look at 3 months pay slips and 3 months bank statements. If you work overtime, extra compensation, extra commission, we're going to look at 6 months. So 6 months pay slip and 6 months bank statement.
Is that because it fluctuates?
It fluctuates. So obviously, you know, if we need more information so that we can work on a median. So we take the 6 months and then they divide it and then they get like a median for the 6 months. So that's why we require more. And then we're going to need a proof of your address as well, which reflects your name. So if you are a current tenant, you can give us your rental agreement as a proof of address as well.
Okay. So that just makes the process smooth. That will also help with the pre-approval. You send that for the pre-approval, and then once the instruction comes to the attorneys, you already have that. That's the one thing I try and emphasize on is if you guys have that documents ready, clear copies, it makes our job a little bit easier, a little bit faster. So that's very nice. And then I think about the costs involved. And doing this for quite some time now, I get clients and they're like, oh, but I didn't know that. But if you have the right agent that helps you get the property, they tell you, listen, there's costs involved. What costs are we talking about here? Like I can interject here.
So are we talking about the seller's cost or the purchaser's cost? Because that's completely different
That's the thing. See, that's where people get confused. They're like, then they start getting overwhelmed. They're like, but shouldn't they pay this? Let's talk to the first-time buyer, the buyer. What cost is involved for you?
Okay, so the only cost they're going to pay is they're going to pay the bond when it goes through. So with that bond activation, there's usually an initiation fee as well. But some of the banks include it, some of the banks don't include it. So that initiation fee can fluctuate between 5,500 Rand up until 6,400 Rand. So it depends on the bank. So for the purchaser, that is the only cost, unless otherwise agreed when doing a sale.
If you are buying a property for the first time, I think of it like you're going to school for the first time because you learn so much things. And if you are buying a property, you are responsible for that monthly bond. But before we even get to that monthly bond that will go off for the first time, you need to pay the transfer attorneys
and your bond
costs. And I always tell people they are really close together because the amount is very similar. When you are a first-time home buyer, you do get 50% off your bond transfer cost. So that's a very nice way the banks is assisting the buyers. But that's the one thing people are shocked about, figuring out, oh geez, I need to pay like 80,000 Rand. Like that's a lot. So it's just knowing that you need to have that cost, you need to take that into consideration.
So usually what we would advise is if you are a first-time home buyer and you are looking at a certain like price range, then we can actually get you quotations for the transfer and the bond fees beforehand, so that you can know this is the amount of money that I will need to have available when the transaction goes off to the attorney. So the other thing there as well is there's a difference between transfer fees and transfer duty.
Oh, this is a discussion.
So any property under 1.2 million does not have transfer duty, which is payable to SARS. Okay,
not to us, the attorneys,
not to the attorneys, not to the estate agent. It goes directly to SARS. So everything over 1.2 is calculated from 1.2 million and R1 up until the 1.8 or the whatever. So you're going to pay transfer duty on that amount, everything over 1.2, and that's going to go directly to SARS. So the attorneys, they get a notice from SARS, and they get like a quitancy from SARS to say that okay, this buyer did pay the tax that they needed to pay on this amount of property. So some properties are exempt, others not. So if you have a property over 1.2 million, your transfer fees is automatically going to be more.
It looks more
because of the duty. So that's two completely different things.
That's one thing that buyers don't get. I had a transaction now. It's the property is exempt from paying transfer duty, but we use a system, and it calculates the amount that we charge, and he said, but I don't have to pay transfer duty. I'm like, you are not paying transfer duty. You are paying us to apply to SARS for the exemption certificate. But so how our stuff works is, and most attorneys work like that, is you have your transfer fees, and if transfer duty is payable, there's a transaction of 5 million now. It looks like I'm charging 118,000 to do this, but if you go and look at your quotation that I gave you, that most of the money is going directly to SARS. Yes, you pay it into our trust account, but I pay SARS. That's not our money, and the buyer needs to know that. That's such an important thing.
And the thing is as well is that if you guys don't pay it over to SARS, we're not going to get the certificate. So then the bond is anyway not going to register. So that is just also proof that they know that it's not going to you is when we get the certificate. So that's a major thing that most buyers don't understand, because we've had questions on this a lot of time. You know, when we list a property on Property 24, if it's under 1.2 million, we mark it as no transfer duty. And then they get the transfer fee quotes, and they're like, no, but you said no transfer. And I'm like, there's no. So you're still going to pay transfer fees, but you're not going to pay SARS.
There's always transfer fees.
Always.
We need to get paid for doing our job.
Exactly.
If you think about when buyers is making the offer, what should they take into account when they are going to make an offer? If I tell you, Elzane, let's go look at this property. It's listed for 1.2 million. What will you tell me to guide me in making the correct offer to the seller?
I think it's very important to work with an agent that has been working in that specific area for quite a while. You know, I've started in property 6 years ago, and I started with a very good company. But my main focus has always been Volpark. So I know Volpark. I know the selling prices, I know the houses that have sold, most of them I've sold myself, so I know the area. So I will be able to guide you, like expert-wise, to tell you, but this has been the selling price for the past 3 years. This is how it fluctuates. I sold this house for this amount, and it had that and that and that and that. Sold this one for this price, and it had all of these things. So it's firstly important to work with an agent that knows the area and that are trustworthy. The second thing to take into consideration is if you have done your pre-approval, then I won't take you to a house where you would most probably need to make an offer to get to the pre-approval price that you can afford. Obviously, we have learned in the last 3 years that everyone everywhere negotiates. So 6 years back, you walked into a house and you bought it no negotiation necessary.
Yeah.
But now the buyers are starting to educate themselves, which is, it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But you also have to listen to the people that actively works in the market, because to educate yourself on something that you read and to take advice from someone that works the area is two completely different things.
There's a joke that comes to mind. You can jump out of a plane without a parachute, but it's not recommended.
Yeah. So it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
So but in terms of making an offer, you know, there's a lot of things that buyers look for when going house hunting. So the biggest thing we've seen is outdated properties, and properties with carpets or old kitchens, old bathrooms. And you know, a kitchen and a bathroom is the thing that's the most expensive.
It's so
to renovate.
expensive.
So if you still need to renovate a kitchen and bathrooms, but you're buying the house for 1.3, you know, you're going to look at 1.6 after you're done, and then we're going to have an issue for reselling.
Yeah.
So all of that stuff needs to be taken into consideration when looking at a house. So the best advice that I can give you is just to find an agent that knows the area, and then just to trust what they tell you.
Don't make that mistake. And you can follow these trends. I mean, most agents is very active on social media. You can see that post, I've sold this house, I've sold this house. You see who to approach for the area. And it's not to say you see a property on Property 24 that the agent, maybe it's not listed with you, but you can still approach the seller. I don't know if it's a sole mandate, it's a different story. That's something to get into sometime else. One thing that you said 6 years ago was a different story. I actually spoke to my dad this weekend and we had such a good laugh. It was about 20 years ago. He knew a guy that wanted to buy this specific house. The house wasn't in the market, but that's like 20 years ago. The guy goes to the bank, he gets like 800,000 in cash. He knocks on the door, he's like, I want to buy your property. Yes, imagine that doesn't work like that. So that's the one thing that came to my mind when you said, I think 6
if someone
years ago
should meet me at a property and have a bag of cash, I would be very worried.
For
myself. I would be worried for myself. So that definitely doesn't happen.
And buying the property, we need to tell the people that sometimes there's suspensive conditions. People don't always understand how it works. There's link transactions. Explain to the buyer what does it mean if there's a suspensive condition in the contract saying that I need to sell my property before this transaction can proceed.
Okay, so usually any contract that you sign has one suspensive condition. That's going to be if you apply for a bond, you need to get the bond
in a certain
period of time, 100%. So every contract has one suspensive condition that we can't get past. So that's going to be the bond approval within a certain time limit. And then if you're buying cash, it's going to be the same. They need to pay the cash over within a certain time frame to the lawyer. So that's going to be a suspensive condition that's always going to be on your offer to purchase. But there can also be various other ones. So the first one can be that you are buying, but on the condition that the house you are currently living in sells. So that is also always linked to a time frame. Because if I just sign a contract and don't put in a time frame, then I can have this contract valid for 4 or 5 years, and then your house doesn't sell, and everyone's going to be mad at me. But so there's certain things that needs to be filled in. So that's the first one. So that means that the house that you are buying, that transaction cannot continue until we have proof in the form of a grant from a bank, or we have the transferring attorneys of your property, telling us that we did receive it, we are busy with the transfer. Then this one can continue. So that's going to be one suspensive condition. The other suspensive condition can be actually turned around. So our house has already sold, but now we are looking for a property, or I'm putting my house in the market, but I'll sign a contract, but on the condition that I find a suitable property for myself within the next time frame. So your house can be in the market and you can have no idea where you're going, and you can still sign an offer to purchase with the condition that within 45 days you get a suitable home that you then sign on. So they can be interlinked with one another as well.
I think that one very important thing that I've learned in my time as being an attorney is suspensive conditions, and specifically, like I cannot stress this enough, to have a certain amount of time. So you can't just say this contract will continue if I sell my house. We always, in a suspensive condition, we always need to say there's a time limit in this. I had a contract that said it was a deceased estate. Say it's dependent on the consent of the heirs but when are they going to give their consent? So yeah, that's the one thing. There should always be a time frame. And taking into consideration the suspensive conditions, and maybe like having a link transaction of you finding another property, can that affect the registration date a bit?
No, it can. So usually, I know what the attorneys do is if both of the transaction is already at the transferring attorneys, they usually register within a week from one another. So the one that you are selling usually registers first, and then the one that you are buying usually registers afterwards. Okay, and I've seen they are about a week apart, a week, 2 weeks.
So you don't have to sit outside on the pavement with your boxes.
So that, I think that also depends on specifically what is in your suspensive condition.
Okay.
Because if there's money that needs to be paid over for the registration to take place, then obviously that will take a bit longer because you need to wait for the guarantees from the bank.
Yes.
The cash needs to be transferred, it has to be received, and it has to be allocated, it has to be paid. So it all depends on what specifically is in your suspensive condition, linking the two together.
But in essence, it can have the effect that registration can be a bit
slower, take a bit longer, and so forth. It doesn't always work out the way.
And then we just sort it out. Everything we can sort out.
Just keep everyone calm.
So, taking into consideration as well the suspensive conditions, what happens the moment you take me to a property? I'm like, Elzane, I love this. Like, I can see myself living here. I signed the offer to purchase. What happens behind the scenes at Vorster Properties as soon as that offer to purchase is signed?
Okay, so usually when we sign the offer to purchase, we go back to the office. So our offer to purchases, they are quite extensive. So we do get a lot of information from the seller and the purchaser. It just makes it easier for the transferring attorneys when they get the transfer. It just makes your work a bit easier so that you don't have to back and forth for documents or information. So usually then we take the offer to purchase back to the office. We collect all of the documents that we need. If it's going to a bank, obviously the clients need to sign a consent form so that the originator can do the application for them at the banks. So there's, getting that documents and information ready to send it to the originator. And then if it's cash, we just send it to the transferring attorneys directly, and we put in a date by which the cash will be available, and then the transferring attorneys do the follow-up with the client to say, here's our trust account, here's the statement, you need to pay by this date, and then we just leave it there until the money is paid. So even if we have signed a contract, we give feedback weekly. So even if it goes for a bond, you will get an update weekly on where your bond application is, what's happening, have a bank given approval, all of that type of stuff. So as soon as we sign, we put it under offer on Property 24 so that other agents can see that there is an active
pending offer.
So if you want to take a client, you're welcome, but you're going to have to sign a follow-up. So that's the first thing, and then we open a file and we get
and you send the transaction off to the transferring attorneys that gets the instruction. What would you say makes the process a bit smoother if you are prepared with all these documents? That will smoothen the process out.
Definitely. So usually if you do a pre-approval, the application goes so much quicker because the originator already has all of your documents. She already did the complete workup of all of your incomes, expenses and everything. So she literally just goes, fill in the address, just check if everything is good, and then she submits. So a process that would have taken 2-3 days
Yes.
after signing an OTP is going to take 1 day.
Yes.
So-
I want us to emphasize again on the importance of an originator within this process as well. And buyers, I had somebody ask me the other day, what do they charge? And I'm like, nothing. They don't
it's for
charge
free.
anything.
Yeah.
It's for free. And they're like, really?
Yeah.
So the buyer just needs to know originator is for free. Like, I cannot emphasize this enough. Don't do this all by yourself. It makes the process so much easier.
It does, you know, they do everything. And then there's also a thing, usually purchasers come to us and they say, no, but I have a private banker. Can they do the application? And then we say, it's fine if you're comfortable with them doing the application. But the positive thing about having an originator is she goes to all of the banks.
Yes.
Not just yours.
Yes.
Remember, your bank is going to give you an interest rate of, let's say, 10%. And you're going to go with that because that's what they say. That's what they advise. That's what they do. The originator is going to send all of the banks your application. And she's going to kind of, you know, motivate them to give a better interest rate.
Work her magic.
Than the previous one. So where you have one option and you're obligated to take that option, I can give you 5.
Yeah, I'd rather take 5.
I can give you 5.
Consider the 5 and see what's happening.
So usually what we do is we tell you it's fine, submit to your bank, and then we'll submit to all of the others, excluding your bank, because you already submitted there. So we can't submit there as well. But then you have a very good like playing field.
Where you want to go.
Yeah, but it's better. Just send it to originator. They know what they're doing. So they can submit to your bank, and I can guarantee you, I've seen it many times, they're going to get you a much better interest rate than your private bank is going to give you.
100%. I can attest to that.
No, it's the truth.
100%. So, Elzane, you've been around for 6 years in the property game. You've seen a heck ton of homes. What would you say is the one feature in a property that either holds or increases the value of your property?
Kitchen and bathrooms.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah. So, kitchen, obviously if you're going to spend 200 grand on a kitchen, you're not necessarily going to get the 200 grand back, but it'll add immense value to your property because that is the most expensive renovation.
Yeah, that's the one thing. We recently bought a property and we did renovations. So if people is listening now and they're like, is this lady crazy saying a kitchen costs you 200,000? She's not crazy. She knows what she's talking about. It's a lot. It's a lot of money. So if you take people out to a property, what is red flags? What do you tell the buyer? Just look at this. I know you want to sell the property, but you also have your client's best interest at heart. What red flags should I, as a first-time buyer, look for when I go buy a property?
Okay, so firstly, when I specifically go and do a listing and I see stuff that's concerning, I usually go back to the seller and ask. So I'll ask, listen, I saw 2 spots on the ceiling. Is the roof leaking? Did you seal it? If you did, do you have a certificate? Do you have a warranty? With who did you do it? Are you going to paint the ceiling? Or are you going to leave it like that? If I see damp in a bathroom, especially on the walls, that can be a very big red flag because that's not always an easy, quick or an inexpensive fix.
No.
That can be a major fix and can cost you a lot of money. So if I see damp on the walls, I'll usually ask, is there a damp problem? Have you sealed it? Have you looked at it? Have you, so when I do take my client, then I tell them beforehand, listen, there is damp in the bathroom, but the seller is fixing it, or the seller has already gotten someone out, or they don't know how big the problem is and they are not going to fix it. So I sold a home in Sasolburg, actually in Van Wouw Street, and one of the bathrooms had like a wall damp issue, but the sellers have not stayed in the property for quite some time, and they relocated literally like almost after they bought the new house. So very unfortunate, but they said that they didn't know about the damp issue, but they're also not going to fix it. So if the person buys, then they're buying it with the issue, and we stipulated that in the offer to purchase as well. So there's a lot of things. I don't think necessarily I can say that if you walk into a property you should check these red flags, because I think that it's kind of the agent's responsibility
to say, listen, this is
wrong. To an extent.
Yeah.
Obviously, everything that you can see and that you know of, there's a lot of things that happens afterwards that we had no idea, and then
latent and patent.
And then obviously it backfires on us because we are the agents. But I also don't live in the property.
You don't get in the room
stay there
and see.
So that's why we have a property condition report as well. So the most important thing for me and for the agents is we sign the property condition report when we sign the offer to purchase.
Okay.
So we don't sign an offer to purchase and then 3 weeks afterwards you get a condition report that says like there's damp and the roof is leaking and so we do that together so that you are also aware what you're getting yourself into. But people should also understand that none of the homes you buy are new homes.
They're not perfect.
They have been lived in by 7 families, have been built in like 1970.
Yes.
So there is always going to be things in a property that you don't like, you want to fix, you want to change. So you need to take that into consideration as well.
The one thing that I did notice, and I personally, I stay in Vereniging in Russellville, is that the homes there crack.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just like the area, the whole area, I don't know why, but properties there struggle with cracks. You can fix it, and then 6 months down the line, you can see it's coming through again. Is it something that you see in areas like that? Like, is there areas that have more damp issues than others?
Usually when we get to damp issues, it's usually going to be properties that are closer to the water. So there's a certain area in Vorster Park that's closer to the river that can struggle with damp and with termites as well. I sold one house, didn't know it had termites.
Oh please, if I send you to a property and
please don't again. That was terrible. But anyway, so we didn't know the property had termites. So when the guy opened the light sockets when he wanted to change them out, registration has been done, like the termites piled out of
now we can stay.
The socks, and he was like, no, but the seller is gonna have to fix it. And I said, but nobody knew this. So, but now I know the area can be prone to termites. So now I do, the due diligence before. But there is a certain area in Sasolburg as well that's very prone to cracking.
Okay.
But it's because of the sand.
It's just how it is. Elzane, thank you so much. It's a lot of information to soak up in for the first time buyer, and thank you for sharing everything you know. This is like the tip of an iceberg. We can have a chat for like the whole day. We can refill our coffee the whole day. But before I go, we don't have to be serious all the time. I have some quick fire questions for you. I don't want you to think about it. I want to ask you, and you just gotta straight up, the first thing that comes to your mind, just say it as it is. We can also bleep out stuff. Don't worry. So, house or flat in a secure complex?
House.
Newly built or an old house with character?
Old house with character.
Big kitchen or big garden?
Big kitchen.
City life or small town?
Small town.
Dream home feature you have to have?
Kitchen, like a beautiful kitchen.
I agree. I agree.
100%.
One thing a home buyer should not ignore when buying a house?
A reselling value.
Okay, that's important because you don't know what's going to happen from 5 years from now. Maybe
you can get a transfer in 2 years, and now you need to sell, and now you need to sell at a not a profit.
And the one word that comes to your mind for the property market right now?
Booming.
Okay, that's great. That's amazing.
It is definitely booming.
And in one sentence, best advice for a first-time home buyer?
Call Vorster Properties.
I love that. Thank you. So before you go, Elzane, I know you guys are very busy. I want to know what's in the calendar this year for Vorster Properties. Like, you guys are booming in the market. You can be extremely proud of yourself.
Thank you.
Tell me, what's the plan so the listener can know? I know you have a golf day in October. Big golf day, big plans. Tell me what's on the plans.
We have a couple of charity projects coming up as well. So for Mother's and Father's Day, we're going to go to local old age homes, and we're going to spend time with them because, I have
a very, very soft spot for old people.
So we're going to do a bit of that, and between Annandale and Sasolburg, I'm going to split the teams. And then we have for Nelson Mandela Day, we have something very special planned. So I will post that on on socials, so
Okay.
people can
That's
just
July.
can just watch out for that. And then we have a celebrity golf day that we are partnering with Colette Strategic Solutions.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the 2nd of October. You're going to get a shirt, you're going to get VIP interactions. It's going to be an amazing day, and I believe you're going to be there as well.
We will be there. The Beer Claassen will be representing. We are very excited to be there with you guys and have the day. A golf day is always so nice. I mean, we always work, but it's just getting that personal interaction with everybody. I love it so much. Thank you again for taking the time to come spend with me. I appreciate it. Well, that's us for the episode. If you want to know anything about listing your property, having transfer attorneys, listing your property, contact Elzane Vorster Properties. We can help you with the transfer. It's our job to equip you and sell your property successfully. Thank you so much. Until next time.